Deputy Chief of Operations this year, with the complexity of fire season, stepped up from his operations manager position to serve there, so invited him to speak and update this committee on the fire season this year. I appreciate the engagement from the legislature this year. Chief Walker, myself, State Forest Authority carried forward those weekly briefings with the legislature and lots of follow-ups and conversations from those events. As mentioned, clearly a challenging fire season required a number of partners, as we always do. I heard mentioned already today the complete and coordinated system. Very successful season, but also very challenging on many fronts, which we will detail in this presentation, and available for any follow-up questions. I would also highlight, required by law, we returned before the legislature in December to report out on the nature and finances following fire season, as we currently are still in fire season. Today engaged in eastern Oregon and west of the Cascades with severity resources on initial attack fires that this legislature and forest landowners make available through our severity program aircraft. So certainly active, still flying and fighting fires every day up to this point. With that, I'll turn it over to Russ Lane, and then Chief Walker from State Fire Marshal will close the presentation.
Great, thank you. Welcome and congratulations, I think, on the new job.
Yeah. Good morning, Chair Evans, Vice Chair Brune, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Russ Lane. I serve as the Deputy Chief for Operations in the Protection Division of the Oregon Department of Forestry. As Chief Grafe mentioned, this has been a challenging fire season, and it began early with some critical conditions. So looking at the fire environment out there on our drought monitor, right now across Oregon, 88% of the state is in severe to extreme drought. And these conditions have really driven 6 of the last 7 severe fire seasons that we've had have been driven by these drought conditions. We recognized this early in the season and began preparations in earnest during the springtime to get ready for fire season. A key part of that was we had an opportunity through some funding that the Oregon Military Department received to do some preseason training of Oregon National Guard members. We did participated ODF in partnership with the Guard, trained 294 soldiers at Camp Raialea, soldiers, airmen, airwomen. Those service members fairly quickly got deployed, and ultimately we ended up engaging over 700 service members throughout the season in ground crews, staffing traffic access points to support evacuated areas and evacuation security, and then also 4 aviation assets, the 2 Chinooks, the Medevac Blackhawk, and then the Lakota. So over 700 service members engaged throughout that process. On top of those drought conditions, the severe fire environment was really driven by 3 major lightning events. So those were centered around June 20th to the 21st, July 15th to the 16th, and July 15th, 16, and August 16, 17. So those 3 spikes in lightning you see there really contributed most of the fire. A couple of those fires are still out there on the landscape in Oregon. The Miles Complex, the Klondike Fire are still actively burning, and then the Natchez Fire just south of the border in California. We continue to monitor that as a threat, but those have been on the landscape since that event of July 15th to 16th. Very, very significant lightning events. That one on July 15-16 put over 140 fires on the landscape in southern Oregon. And these lightning events with multiple